Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bharat Army podcast. We are back for another episode, bringing you guys some more Indian cricket chatter while we're hoping that you all are staying home and staying safe. Now, this week, we're doing something a little bit different now. We are doing a debate today on why Team India have failed to win any ICC trophies since 2013. 2013, of course, we won the Champions Trophy. I was there at Edgbaston. One of my favourite memories that was watching us beat England in the final. But we failed to win any trophies since then. So today on the podcast, we've got a few guests from around the globe. We've got, from our London side, we've got Amish. How you doing, Amish?
Not bad, Ash. How you doing, mate?
Very well, thank you. Very well. From London, we've also got Rav.
Hi, Ash. How's it going?
All good, thank you. All good. And joining us again from Mumbai, we've got Kunal.
Hello.
And joining us from Dubai this week, we've got Preston. How you doing, Preston?
I'm good, guys. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing all right. We're doing all right, thank you. So we're going to go into this discussion of why Team India have failed to win any trophy since 2013. So here's a rundown of how we've done in ICC Tournament since 2013. So 2014 T20 final, we lost to Sri Lanka. 2015, the World Cup semi-final, we lost to Australia. 2016, the T20 semi-final, we lost to the West Indies. 2017, the Champions Trophy final, we lost to Pakistan. And 2019, the World Cup semi-final, we lost to New Zealand. That is a pretty devastating lineup of ICC tournament results for us in recent years. So, Amish, let's get you started on this. Why do you think India have failed to kind of capitalize on the joy that they had, like 2011 winning the World Cup, 2007 T20, 2013 Champions Trophy? Why has nothing happened since then?
So, you know what? I don't think you can pinpoint it down to one reason. I'm sure there's a number of factors that come into it. If we think about our ODI or limited oversight over the last decade, we've probably gone into most tournaments as the favourite to win, and unfortunately we've slipped up at the last moment, like you said. Is it a case of pressure? Like, there's a lot of people labelling India as chokers. There's a few different factors that I've got in mind which will come out in the discussion. Put it over to someone else and let the debate begin.
I mean, the thing is, you mentioned that word chokers there. Now, I'm just looking down at this list of results. I mean, the World Cup semi-final 2015, we can kind of forgive them because it was Australia they lost to in that semi-final, and it was in Australia. I guess the 2016 T20 semi-final against West Indies, even though it was in India, but I mean, we had an awful tournament that year, so I guess we can kind of forgive that too. But the rest of these matches, the T20 final in 2014 against Sri Lanka, then we've got the 2017, the Champions Trophy against Pakistan, which we already beat them in that tournament. And then, of course, last year, the semi-final against New Zealand. Now, Kunal, we are arguably losing to teams that we should be beating. Is that not the hallmark of chokers?
I don't think so. I mean, see, we need to look at two different eras. One is under Dhoni, which two ICC we lost, which will be the 2014 and the 2015 ODI semi-final. So when you look at the 2014 one, I personally feel Sri Lanka did outplay us. I mean, we were doing well, but then somehow Sri Lanka, the way they fought back and put pressure on Yuvraj Singh from the 16th over or something, and we just couldn't score runs. So I think that's something they deserved at that point. I mean, sad for an Indian fan, but then we have to accept that they did outplay us. The 2015 Cup, it was a completely new team. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Shami, Umesh Yadav, Rohit Kohli. So the team was going through a transition phase. So I don't think, in fact, we came in as underdogs. I mean, I remember people just telling, we might just qualify for the quarters because we would win against those weak teams and make it ahead. But we defeated every single team, and the only match we lost was the semi-final against Australia, which again, I feel Australia did deserve to win that cup. They were actually a strong side in that particular year. But then I feel that the losses after that, which would be the 2017 Champions Trophy and 2019, I think we have choked a bit. I mean, that's just what South Africa, it happens with South Africa. we just give away the match at the crucial time. That has happened after that.
Rav, what do you think? Have we forgotten to win the big games?
Yeah, I think we have. I think obviously we've made some really basic fundamental errors. I mean, I still say that it's wrong to stick Pakistan in at the Oval in 2017, but I also think there's some bigger strategic factors that are kind of reasons why. And I think also we've not really looked at how the game's moved on. You know, white ball cricket, the model has moved on. I don't feel we've really adapted to that. You look at England 2015, they got knocked out by Bangladesh, and everybody was laughing, I remember. And from that, you look at that, Ian Bell opening the innings, right? And Anderson, Cook, I think Broad was bowling as well. But now they completely shifted that model, and they've got Bairstow, Roy, hitters down the order, wrist spinners. They really planned well, and I think that it's no. If I said to you on the day after we won the World Cup in 2011 that England would win the 2020 and the 50-over World Cup before we would win either again, you'd probably say I was mad. But that's what they've done, and their blueprint has worked. India don't have that blueprint.
Good point.
Preston, what's your thoughts on all of this? India failing to win all of these tournaments.
I think there's various factors. Again, how I look at it is various factors. 2014, and I think I would say a lot of it has come down to a bit of bad luck. 2014, I think, was the one game where we were outplayed for, I think, 5 overs or so between the 12th and the 18th over or something, and that was the game. Again, 5 overs in a 20-over game is a lot. So, I mean, that was one of those games. I think the semi-final against Australia, I think, again, would have been different had we won the toss and put up runs on the board. The Champions Trophy, I think it was disaster after we won the toss and we decided not to bat. So that was one big mistake. And I think it's every game you look at it, there's been a bit of luck, and there's been it's a one-off sort of a thing, which then kind of, it's unfortunately that one game tends to come at the wrong time of the tournament and we don't win it. But I think with a little bit of more luck, I think we definitely would have had different results. So I think there's a bit of luck factor which hasn't gone our way, and I think if we had to accumulate all these tournaments and if it was like a league sort of a thing, I think we would have won it. Let's put it that way. We've just had that one odd game off, and unfortunately that odd game off has been a semi-final or a final, a knockout game. So I think if it was
does that not bring it down to pressure?
I think we would have been on top for sure.
Go ahead with your point, Amish.
Preston, because I was thinking, is it a case of luck? But then when you can't blame something on luck for a long period of time. Luck, then it's not luck. Then there's something there's a common pattern there. Yeah? And you mentioned tosses, right? And I was thinking, wait, is it a case that India keep losing the toss? But like you said, in 2017, India won the toss, and we put Pakistan into that. And if I think about 2000, when we won the Champions Trophy or the World Cup, we lost the toss as well. So toss, we can blame it on toss, but I feel like that's just a cop out. Rav, you made a good point, right, about building a team. What England have done, and that's a really good point that I didn't have in terms of clearly India. We've had a core set of players, but there's been too many question marks, which we still have in today's date. So if you look at some of the teams that we had from 2013, our number 4, who in the Champions Trophy, Garthik played number 4. And he was still in contention in 2019. That's still been a big slot that we haven't had. Now, in all of these tournaments, Shikhar Dhawan steps up ICC tournament. In fact, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, they've been arguably 2 of the top 5 batsmen in limited overs cricket in this decade. So when our top 3, unfortunately, and they've smashed it the whole tournament, if they don't fire in the semi-final, right, they tend to expose our middle order in the big game. And our middle order haven't had a chance to, that's their first, second, third innings of the tournament, and we're now asking them to step up in a big game. And That's happened on a few occasions because our top three have just been so good. Sorry?
It's the impossible problem, though, isn't it? Because there's nothing you can do with it. Because obviously you want them to succeed.
And do you blame the top three for not firing after having a fantastic tournament throughout, which is a bit unfair? And then it comes back to how mentally tough are our team when it comes down to it.
The thing is, when you're talking about mental toughness and putting up with the pressure and stuff like that, surely like India should be able to deal with the pressure more than any other team. Like considering they're the most watched team in the world, considering they're the team that have the most pressure on them, considering all of the IPL matches that these players all play, which is a high intensity tournament. Why is it that they seem to be failing in putting up with the pressure when, as Rav said, made a great point that 2015, England knocked out by Bangladesh in the group stage. Come 2019, they're the undisputed kings of the white ball game. Like, how has that happened to both of these two teams?
I don't quite agree that England are the undisputed kings. Yeah, they did win the World Cup without actually winning it.
They did win the World Cup, and they are ranked #1 in the world in ODI cricket. We can't dispute how good they are.
They play good cricket. They play good cricket in those formats.
Did they lose to Sri Lanka in this World Cup? I'm just trying. I'm not sure. I think they did lose one game.
Yeah.
I think
they lost a couple of games. I think. Yeah.
Oh, is it couple? Who was the other team? I can't remember. I know. I think it was Sri Lanka.
Australia in the group stage. I think they lost to as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Australia and Sri Lanka. So. Were they really better than India or something? I think it's very debatable. I can't say, you can't say it's a black and white thing that, yeah, they were definitely better than India and they deserve to win the World Cup. I don't think so, because I think we had a phenomenal World Cup until that one spell of Trent Boult in the semi-final, which was the difference between us making it to the final and not. So again, it all comes down to, I think for me, yeah, England do have a very good side. They have a very good one-day side, but they're definitely a beatable side, and they were beaten by, I would consider Sri Lanka relatively a weaker side in the modern day. So,
sure, yeah, I think that's a fair point, yeah. The thing is, out of all of these matches, what I'm quite interested in, out of all of these matches, which one do you think was actually genuinely the worst defeat out of all of them? Because when I'm looking at all of these matches, and we talk about the 2017, the Champions Trophy final, but to be fair, like Preston said, after the toss, we were outplayed for the entire match. So we can't really complain about that result. I'm looking at like 2014 against Sri Lanka, like when we pretty much battered everybody in that tournament. Like, which has been the worst out of all of these defeats?
Also, just quickly,
Go ahead, Raf.
Before I forget, in terms of we said we can't hold our nerve or something. I wouldn't say that, because I don't think any of the games which we have lost were very, very close games in which we needed to hold our nerves. I think most of the games, the game against Sri Lanka, I think we didn't really put up a score. The game against Australia in the semi-final, they already had put up a first inning score, which was almost impossible for us to chase. The game against New Zealand, I think by the time Trent Boult finished his first spell, the game was pretty much done. So if you look at most of the games, we didn't have to hold our nerve sort of a thing in any of those games. It was one bit of brilliance or one spell of brilliance which changed the course of the game. So I don't know whether it really comes down to a nerve thing, do we really have an issue holding our nerve, or it's just that is it probably a mathematical thing that at a certain point of time you are bound to lose a game, and we unfortunately at this point of time seem to lose it at the wrong time.
Peaking in a tournament too early, perhaps. Rav, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say I slightly disagree about 2017, because the kind of wider thing about that is that we went into that final as huge favourites, and even when you lose a toss, no balls, drop catches, you can still. We lost the toss 2011 and we chased to win that final. But in 2017, just the standards dropped so dramatically. I remember speaking to Pakistan fans outside. And they said to me, we would have to play our 10 out of 10 game and India would have to play a 5 out of 10 or below game for us to win. And that's exactly what happened. And, I went into that final. It was such a nice weather day, everything. And it was such a deflating day because, you know what, I really felt we had built up quite nicely in that tournament. 2019 is a clear case of not being able to handle the pressure when, for the first 10 overs in a white ball game, the ball does a bit. Afterwards, it was a different game completely. But, I think 2017, I would challenge that. I think it was really disappointing because, yes, they hammered us by, 180 odd runs. But the bottom line is that that swing between before the game and after the game was just way too much for me personally.
Yeah. In fact, I think one more thing which we need to understand is the team composition. I mean, the entire focus of the team has shifted a bit. I mean, if you remember the 2007 or even the 2011 win, we had batsmen till let's say 8 down or something. Even Zahir Khan knew how to hit runs and score runs. So that actually reduces the pressure of the middle order. Now what happens is, the middle order knows if they don't perform, it's done. I mean, there's no one else left at the back other than Dhoni or Jadeja. But even Dhoni, Jadeja walk in at number 5 and 6 and something. So our batting lineup, gets exhausted very early. So previously that used to not happen. So the pressure is less and they used to play more better. I mean, in 2011 as well, we did have a bad start while chasing. But then the way Gambhir, Virat Kohli, Dhoni, Yuvi stepped up because they knew they had batsmen like Raina. They had, at worst scenario, even Harbhajan Singh can hit runs and Zahir Khan as well. So when you have bowlers who can bat as well, that reduces the pressure. And I think that would have mattered in the New Zealand semi-final. So, yeah.
Amish, what do you think about that? Team composition, a problem?
Well, yeah, I think we still have got the same issue that we've had, that no one, until now, hopefully with Shreyas Iyer, but no one secured that number 4 spot. Like even talking about building teams again, we're going into the 2020 World Cup on the assumption that it happens without knowing who our keeper is. Like there's still so many question marks. So clearly we haven't done what England have done and built our team for the big tournaments. Team composition, like there's a few spots right within our team who we just haven't worked out who's the right player for those spots. Otherwise, pretty much the teams, if you compare from 2013 to 2019, there's a lot of players who are still the same players. So it's not even about experience because they've grown within the team. If I think about what India do different to every other country, and whether this is it or not, I'm not sure, but India play a lot of fixtures more than any other country. Before the IPL, we've got a series. After the IPL, we've got a series. Now, is it a case of burn out for the big tournaments that we can't sustain that momentum till the end? Because to be honest, we probably had, and the results don't show it, but I think India have had the best team over the last. When have we ever had a strong bowling lineup as good as we've got now, with 2 of the greatest ODI players or limited over players? Like there's a lot of things in favour of India, but yet something is still going wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we're trying to get to the bottom of now. And when you're talking about the bowling attack that we've got at the moment, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, obviously, so I saw the worst of the worst when it came to the Indian team. So Lord knows this team is a vast improvement on that. Having said that, though, I think Kunal made a good point earlier talking about previous teams. When you had the likes of Zahir Khan, Harbhajan Singh coming in lower and stuff. This current crop of players, are they the best Indian team that we've sent in ODI tournaments? There's been a lot of discussion about how good this crop actually are. Would you say they're actually the best that we've produced?
That's an interesting question. It's always relative to the other sides in that era, isn't it? And for me, this 2019 team plays dated one-day cricket, whereas I would say the 2011 team played the better cricket of that era. The 2019 cricket that's been played that's winning World Cups is not the brand that India play. And the brand that India play is one where, it's very reliant on the top 3. But the problem is, in one-day cricket, in the middle order, we pick hitters where we need batsmen. And in T20, we pick batsmen who don't naturally hit when that's what you need in T20. So it's almost like we've got it the wrong way round. And, we've not been able to pick those players for the right formats. The talent's there, but I just don't think we're utilising the right players in the right format.
Yeah. So I absolutely agree with what Rav said. It has to be compared with the other teams of this era. So I feel in the 2019 Cup we were the best team, but we weren't at our best when it was needed the most. And in 2011 it was exactly. I mean, we did perform the best as soon as the situation asked for it. So I think that mattered a lot. The 2015 one itself was not the best team at all, but we played our best cricket in 2015 and were unbeaten throughout the tournament. The determination, the kind of captaincy and everything was really great in 2015. I mean, taking a young side in Australia for the very first time in a big tournament with people were like, you forget getting the cup, at least defeat Pakistan. And we came back as if almost there winning the cup. So that was a big thing. But 2019, I feel we didn't really play when it mattered the most.
Sure. I'm going to bring up a controversial point for one moment that I'm sure is going to be a future debate we're going to talk about a lot. The problem with this Indian team, is it Ravi Shastri?
Yeah. Yes.
Go on, Rav, take it away.
I don't, I've been quite vocal to some people about this. They know what I think. But, when you look at the elite coaches of T20 cricket, of white ball cricket, we'll go back to England because they are the blueprint. They saw that they were playing dated cricket and they sacked Peter Moores and they brought in Trevor Bayliss, who's won 2 IPLs, 2 Big Bashes, and loads of trophies at this level. And within one cycle, they won that World Cup. India, I appreciate the Anil Kumble thing didn't work out, but India is the richest board in the world. They have the ability to get the best coach tactically in the world. And Ravi Shastri gets paid 8 crores a year. But for what? When we look at where the team is at, I don't feel that the team plays the type of cricket that's needed to satisfy the fans, because we've been waiting since 2013. So, I think he's got to take some accountability for that. Kohli also has to take accountability. And I think if India were not to win one of the next 2 T20 trophies, I would probably say give the captaincy to Rohit, give him a couple of years before the 2023 Home World Cup, where India, it's a big World Cup for us. We should be winning that one.
Go on, Amish.
I think Shastri, he's more of a manager as opposed to a coach. And his people management, i.e. Kohli, etc., has probably been why he's been kept as long as he has. Now, unfortunately, I'm doing the same as Rav, going back to England, or I go back to 2011, where Gary Kirsten took us on the journey to win the World Cup. Now, he kept saying, apparently, what I read articles on how he told them that this is the storyline. Like, it's meant to be, and we worked for this moment, and we will be there, we will do it. Now, I don't think I can't say that India have been working towards that. It's not like we've been building towards that goal. Ours has just been like building, but not necessarily with a target or a deadline of we need to be ready by this point in time. Because it's the same. We've got the same questions that we had 5 years ago on certain positions. I keep coming back to that point. And is it a case that we need someone who's going to come in with, and even if you look at like how long each manager's been there, right? I think Shastri's he's had 2 stints, and his last one, he started in 2017, 2021. We're going into the year before last year on his contract. We're going into the tournament still with question marks. So we still haven't solved several issues. I think that's a big problem. 2011, I think we had our batting lineup set to number 6, number 7, without a question. And even within that, you could rotate. We don't have that ability to rotate. And fair play to, we can't blame the top 3 for firing and exposing the middle order, because they've done so well. I think that would be undeserved.
You make an interesting point, because the middle order in 2011 we had Yuvraj, Raina, and MS Dhoni, who they weren't hitters, they were batsmen who made their name in first class cricket and not in potentially the IPL. So is that a reason perhaps as well?
Well, to be honest, now when we're talking about our 2020 team, I'm becoming a bigger fan of Hardik Pandya over the last few years. Even Jadeja just stepped up, etc. From a batting point of view, we're talking about him being our number 6 batsman now. Or at some point, number 5, and he's come in number 5 a few times now. Are we like? There's not enough meat in that from a technical batsman point of view, not a hitter's point of view. There's talks of Rishabh Pant being a finisher. Guys, he's fair enough. His game is more suited to the shorter format, but that doesn't mean just because you can hit 360 doesn't make you a finisher. So we're clearly missing certain traits in the middle order.
Yeah, surely if you think about it, the 2019 semi-final against New Zealand, chasing that total under the challenging conditions, and you had Rishabh Pant, Dinesh Karthik, Hardik Pandya coming in the middle order. These guys have never played in a World Cup semi-final before, Kunal.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that. And talking about the coach point which you mentioned, yeah, I mean, I don't think Ravi Shastri would be the right person as an ideal coach. But then looking at Virat Kohli, I think the kind of the duo of coach and captain should be, complementing each other. So in that sense, Virat Kohli and the Shastri are good. But I mean, the way we saw Anil Kumble, he would have gone really well if Rohit Sharma would have been the captain or Dhoni would have been the captain. So we look at Jayawardena and Rohit Sharma in IPL. We see at Dhoni and Fleming, the kind of approach, the way they look at the team and the sport and the tournament is in a particular way, and that's what matters. So I feel if Ravi Shastri has to be switched with some other coach, then the captain too should be switched accordingly. Because we saw the fallout between Anil Kumble and Virat Kohli, which wasn't really a good sight as an Indian cricket fan.
Okay, so let's go around the panel a little bit now and have a little bit of a few bullet points. That what do we need to do in order to win the next ICC tournament? So Rav, let's start with you. If you were in charge of the BCCI, what would be your few bullet points on what we need to do in order to finally get over that hurdle and win the next tournament?
I'd sack the coach. I'd bring in a coach who has a track record of very high performance at franchise level. And then I'd also look at what the middle order solution needs to be for both T20 and one-day cricket, because I think that it may be they need two distinct teams rather than us trying to fit too many players in consistently across formats. I'm not sure it works that well. Those would be my two main initiatives.
Amish, what about you?
I'm going to be diplomatic in terms of the coach area. However, middle order, definitely, we've got too many question marks. And I think now in the modern format, you need to bat deep, which I don't think we do. And I think our bowlers, historically, our bowlers have never been able to bat. Now, if you look at all the strong sides across the world, they've always had a lower order who can hold the bat. We've got Hardik Pandya and Jadeja, but we need a few fast bowlers. We need a Ben Stokes. England has several of these players who can, at number 8, number 9, still hold a bat. And I'm not saying that it should come down to a number 8, number 9, but it's nice to have in the tank that if they are called upon, we've got someone ready who can come out all guns blazing. And that also gives you some flexibility in your batting lineup. I think that's those 2 points of the middle order and having batsmen who can bat. And that goes down to training in academies and so forth to set them up for the future. That is building for the future. Because India have never, apart from Kapil Dev, Irfan Pathan, we've never had fast bowlers who can bat low down in the order. Now, other teams have had Jack Callis, Watson, Stokes, Rose, Tom Curran, Andre Russell. There's loads of them. Whereas India, that's never been, and that's especially in today's day and age, that's the big area we're missing out on.
Yeah. Preston, what about you? What's your 5-point plan on how to get India back on winning tracks?
I think we just need to have a bit of luck to start off with. I think that's one thing which we've which has evaded us. And I think we've, like most of the guys have pointed out, I think from the 2011 side, what we've missed out ever since, I think for a very long time, is the combination of Yuvraj and Raina. I think we have never been able to replace those two guys in the middle order. And if you look at the games in which they've played, and if you look at games today in which we lose out in the middle order, we've never been able to replace the quality of Yuvraj and Raina in the middle order today. And I think that's where we've kind of we fall back on every time our top order fails. And unfortunately, they do end up failing in those important games. and then I mean, that's where we lose those games. So I think the middle order is probably having someone. I think probably now we've got someone like a Shreyas Iyer or something. I think he's probably in to stay for a long time. And I think he'll probably be one of the solutions to having one part of it solved. And I think we need to find someone else who can probably as well lower in that middle order.
Just building on Preston's point, if I think about between 2000 and 2010, we won a lot of games with Yuvraj, Dhoni, Raina. India won a lot of games through that combination. Whereas over the last decade, it's probably more so been from our top three as opposed to our lower order. And Raina used to bat at number 7. And he used to get a quick 30, 40 runs, which is underestimated. And do we have someone who can come in that low down and help finish that off or hold a partnership with whoever's at the other end? Probably not.
Yeah, I think Raina, I mean, if you look at Raina, just the 2 games, the quarterfinal chase against Australia in 2011 in Ahmedabad and the semi-final against Pakistan, I think Raina's knocks were really, really, really crucial in both those games.
Undervalued.
Kunal, what's your points on how to get India back on track?
So I've got a couple of changes. One, we need a coach who's a strategical genius. It might be Fleming, it might be Mahela Jayawardene, it might be Gary. If I have to pick, I would go for Sunil Gavaskar. He is too big a person now to coach a team, but then he is the right guy. Switch the captain with Rohit Sharma. I mean, these two would work really good together. And in fact, most of the times, if you're watching the commentary when Mumbai is actually playing, Gavaskar points out a change that Rohit has done, and the next few balls, the wicket goes down. And Gavaskar is the one who has already spotted, he has done this change, and that has worked out well. So I think these two would suit really well together. Next, I would keep Shreyas Iyer as the vice captain because we have to train him for the 2027 Cup to lead. So I think he's a good young captain. So I think that, and these 3 would take care of all of the problems. Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope you're right. And I think it's also worth mentioning in this discussion that we've had that while, we have been failing in recent times, like I said, I grew up in the 90s watching, an Indian team that weren't one of the best teams in the world. So now even just the fact that we're talking about India being a team that should go out and win World Cups is something that I never even thought I'd see in my lifetime. So we should actually be grateful for that, I guess, more than anything else.
I guess also, guys, let's make no mistake about the fact that we are winning a good majority of the games we play. Let's not forget about that at any point of time. I mean, we do win a good 70-75% of the games we play. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that we tend to lose out on that one particular game for whatever reason. But I mean, we are a very good side. We do win games consistently, and we can say that. I mean, it's not something which we could say in the 90s. So I think that's something which we really need to not.
We lost him again.
In the current game.
So yeah, I guess our expectation of India has changed over the last 2 decades, but rightly so, right? Because I think our overall team is stronger than what it used to be. So before, I think we were heavily when I say stronger, I'm talking about the 90s, right? We're a more wider unit. And therefore, it's not unreasonable for us to have this expectation for the quality that we have produced.
Yeah, there we go. Ending on a positive note. That's what we try to do in every episode. So with that, our time is up with this debate on Team India failing to win an ICC tournament since 2013. So if you have any thoughts on this, drop us a line on @the_Bharat_Army on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And as many of you know, cricket is obviously very close to the hearts of Indians out there all over the world. Another thing, obviously, which is very close to our hearts as well, is our film industry and all of the wonderful actors that we watch in movies. And over the past few days, it would be amiss to go on this podcast without mentioning the loss of Irfan Khan and Rishi Kapoor today as well. So Our final note on this podcast would be our salute to those two amazing actors who have given us so much joy over the years in Indian cinema. So if you can at home, go and watch an Irfan Khan movie on Netflix. Go and watch a Rishi Kapoor movie. And until then, we'll see you on the next podcast. Stay home, stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon. Peace out.